Moving on with our bulletin, 6 EFF Mogale city councillors who defied the organisation by voting with the ANC have been expelled. The party's Central Command team expelled the members following a national disciplinary hearing. According to the party, the councillors contravened the EFF's decision not to attend the Mogale City Budget Vote Council meeting. The councillors voted in favour of the proposed ANC budget. The 6 councillors are Nhlanhla Shilobane, Nomonde Nkatu, Lemogang Modisani, Eric Baloi, Edward Motsitsi and Simanga Mkombeni. Party spokesperson Dr. Mbuyiseni Ndlozi says essentially that the 6 betrayed EFF revolutionary tenant. The judgment in Oakbay Group versus the Bank of Baroda case will be delivered today. Bank of Baroda had given the group September 30th as the deadline for the closure of their accounts. Oakbay is seeking at least 24-month notice period to make alternative arrangements. The hearing the matter a day before the bank's deadline. The court had ordered the bank to keep the accounts open until the ruling is out. Well, joining us live now from the North Gauteng High Court is ANN7 reporter Kelden Ongu. Good morning to you, Kelden. D-Day, it seems, for the Oakbay versus Bank of Baroda case.
Definitely, Abigail, the fate of Oakbay will be heard today here by Judge Mahoka at 10 a.m. at North Gauteng High Court. If you remember, on the 28th and 29th, arguments were made by both the parties to Judge Mahoka, where the parties argued, especially the Gupta-owned companies who had brought the application forward for the judge, seeking an order to bring forward the date of hearing. That's the main application. If you remember, the banks versus the Oakbay Group is going to be heard in December. So basically what the Oakbay Group wanted to seek is they wanted an order from the judge to ask them to prepone the days of hearing to October instead of being heard in December. Now, if you also remember, in September, the Oakbay Group had lost case against Bank of Baroda, where another judge had said, had given a go-ahead to Bank of Baroda to close down the accounts of the Oakbay Group, and they had given them time until 30th of September. Now, when the hearing was, arguments were heard by both the parties on the 28th and 29th of last month. What Oakbay Group stated that, banks going ahead and closing Oakbay accounts is going to be a huge loss, not only for Oakbay, but looking at the number of people that work for Oakbay, that's 7,500 employees are going to lose their jobs, and Oakbay will be crippled, forcing them to sell the business away. The attorneys, their counsels also argued the fact that some of the companies, mainly the mining companies, had already started telling the employees not to come to work. So basically what the councils had said that, the reputational harm that the Bank of Baroda is talking about, the irreparable harm the Bank of Baroda is talking about, that is put in a simple word such as nonsense, saying they do not have evidence as to how Bank of Baroda is going to suffer reputational as well as irreparable harm if they continue their account with Oakbay. And Oakbay, on the other hand, after they made the announcement after the councils made the arguments, Bank of Baroda council stated that having a relationship or keeping banks accounts open for Oakbay is going to harm their image as far as the media, the publications is concerned. The number of media publications that have come out and also has backfired Bank of Baroda in a greater way. So that was basically the argument. So today around 10 a.m. Judge Mahoka will hand down his judgment. He had sought a 1-week request, saying to the groups that it is a huge, matter. 7,500 jobs is at stake. So therefore, he needed some time to think and go with the arguments once again in the papers. He wanted to go back to the papers as well as the arguments from both the sides. So today, Oakbay will hear their fate on whether or not Judge Mahoka will side with Oakbay, or he will go ahead and tell Bank of Baroda that they can also go forward, and that the date of the final hearing, of the main final hearing, will stick to December. So that is what we are waiting for.
Kelden, if the judge does rule in favour of the Bank of Baroda, what sort of options does that then leave for Oakbay?
So then, Abigail, Oakbay will have no other options. Remember, this will be the second time, if at all, the judge rules against the Oakbay group. They will have to wait until December when the final hearing or the final application will be heard against the other banks as well. Where remember now, a judge has been hearing this matter in two parts. One is also talking about the not only about lawfulness but also about several other things that will come in the way, whether it was lawful for banks to close down the Oakbay accounts. One thing you must remember, Abigail, when the arguments were being heard, they also brought up this matter of, whether or not, banks going ahead, whether it was Bank of Baroda's decision or whether there was a third party involved. This was also brought up by the councils of the Oakbay, stating that it could have been with a mandate of reserve banks that Bank of Baroda is going ahead with the closure of the accounts. Remember, the four major banks of South Africa has already closed down their bank accounts for Oakbay. So they will have no other options but to wait and hear what the final hearing or the final application will have to say in December.
All right, thank you very much, Calden, for the update. We'll check in with you later once those proceedings start and once a ruling has been made with regards to that. That was ANN7 reporter Calden Ongmu coming to us live from outside of the court. That court proceeding set to take place or to start at 10 a.m. in the Oakbay versus Bank of Baroda case.